Change is different, and realistically, change is scary. Straight up. It's one of those things that, I mean, all of us have to come into contact with. We all just have to like face change. And obviously change is different for everyone. I mean, a pretty common change that I feel like we've all had to do is like that situational change of going from elementary school to middle school to high school to college, and some for like college to the real world. It's all about perspective of how you really acknowledge your change. Do you acknowledge it in a negative way? Do you acknowledge it in like a positive way? Or you just kind of just nonchalant with the idea of change? All of those things contribute to how you take care of the change. And not only that, how you really approach it and how you accommodate for it. Because change is one of those things that we don't necessarily have to always ask for change. I mean, some people do. But realistically, change comes when change comes. We just have to accept that. Things don't always have to be in our control. And that's something that is really hard for us to wrap our minds around, because we love being in control of our certain situations, of what's going on in our heads, what's going on around us. But realistically, it's just not ideal. We can't always be in control. We can't always be the puppet master and just having everything act out the way that we envision it. If that was the case, we'd be robots with no emotion and have a very routine way of how we do things, because everything would just work out. Coming to terms with the fact that not everything is going to work out the way that you personally envision it off rip, that's just something that we have to kind of come to terms with. And that's hard sometimes. It is. It's really difficult. Because change is scary, man. Change is scary. It can be thought of as bad. All of that. It can be good. It really just depends on your perspective. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that being in control isn't always an option when change is on the forefront. Being able to accommodate for change is one of the biggest roles in my personal development and my self-improvement that I've noticed 100%. Because when you're improving yourself, when you're developing that person that you want to be, or developing the space for people, or the space for certain circumstances to come into your life and to work out, being able to adopt change is a very, very useful skill. It's not easy. It's not easy by any means, but it's one of those things that really, really helps get past the uncomfy stage. Because I touched on uncomfortability in like a couple of my videos, but becoming uncomfortable and becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable is one of those things that's very, very useful. Because you can't always be comfortable. You can't, especially when change is on the forefront. Like I said, you have to be willing to figure out what really works for you. And also not being in control all the time. You have to be okay with that. Even though you can say, oh yeah, nah, I'm okay with being uncomfortable. Are you really though? Another question you have to ask yourself. And like I said in like a couple of my videos, asking yourself questions is really, really hard. But once you do, and once you get your answer, you're able to kind of work around that and kind of figure out what works for you. Because one thing I found with being in control, or trying to be in control all the time, your circumstances don't always work themselves out. You don't really allow the change to do what the change is there to do. So with that, you kind of get in your own way. And I've gotten in my way multiple times, countless times. Can't even count it on all of my 10 fingers. Really. Getting in the way of change is one of those things that you kind of push yourself back a couple steps. It's like the idea of like taking 2 steps forward and taking four or 5 steps back. It's one of those things that's like a continuous loop, because you're like, okay, I see the change right there. Are you really going to adapt to it though? Because there's one thing, okay, like I notice it, but are you going to acknowledge it? Noticing it, okay, like I see it's there. Okay, cool, like change, you do your thing. But if you're not willing to let the change do what it's there to do, then you're taking those steps back. You're not being able to really progress in the way that the change is there for you to do. And I've done that a lot. So don't do that. And it's easy to do because it's the comfortable thing to do. When change arises, there's going to be, like, it's literally going to like grab you and it's going to be like, okay, I'm here. What are you going to do now? And that what are you going to do now question is something that is going to be very useful in figuring out and navigating the best way of adapting your change. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Are you just going to wallow and just be like, okay, nah, like that's kind of a little bit too uncomfortable. I'll just stay right here. And then like the change is like, okay, I tried. And it just goes away. Or are you going to be like, okay, this is very, very uncomfortable. Honestly, if I'm being so completely honest, I don't think I like it right now. But this is something I'm going to have to deal with, and this is something I'm going to have to go through to get to where I want to go. One thing I found, like the more you try to be in control of the uncontrollable, the more out of control your life gets. I am a living, breathing testament of that. Like I said, I can't count on any of my fingers how many times I've gotten in my own way because I wanted to just kind of not really stay stuck in the same loop, because I didn't want to stay stuck in the same loop, but I didn't want to do the things necessary to adapt to change. I said that I did. It felt like I did, but I really didn't. Deep down in my heart, I didn't. Because it was too scary. I was relying on myself doing what I was doing for like the past couple of years, like decade or so. And the fact that change came up and it was just like, okay, I'm here. What are you going to do? I just kind of took a step back and just noticed it. I didn't acknowledge it. I didn't really do what was needed to be done for the change to do what it needed to do for me. And that's happened a lot. And I had to stop it. It's something that I really had to just realize and say, okay, this is going to be uncomfortable. I don't know how long I'm going to be uncomfortable for, but I'm willing to be uncomfortable for a season to get out of the certain predicament or situation that I'm in right now. Whether that be a situation for your job, like a situation mentally, a situation with someone, like whatever it is, being able to adapt to change and not getting your own way is something that's going to be very, very important for the betterment of your health, but also your mental health, and also the health of you being around others. Because it all just boils down, you have to take care of yourself before you try to take care of other people. And it's hard because a lot of us are givers. Like we love to give. Sometimes we look around and we're like, oh, where is that person to check up on me? What about me? Often ask that question. I've asked that question like countless times. Like I can't even recall how many times I've answered that or been asked that by myself. What about me? It happens. I get it. But you have to be at peace with your transition. Being that person that is able to be called on multiple times, to get ranted to, that shoulder for someone to cry on, that ear to listen to someone. You're that person for that person to get through what they're going through. Maybe somebody's going through their change and they just need a little help. We're all human. We deserve help. And sometimes we're equipped with the necessary tools to help people, and sometimes we just don't do it because it's too uncomfortable. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You have to embrace change. Embrace the change so the change can do what it needs to do for you. Because like I'm going to keep saying it, change is a scary thing. It is. But it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. Situation to situation is different. I get it. But realistically, change is one of those things. It's with us our entire lives. From the day that we were born until the day that we take our last breath. Change is going to be a forever thing. So the more that you delay it, the more that you push it away, the harder it's going to be for you to get used to change. The harder it's going to be for you to get to where you want to go, because you're not letting the change do its thing. So as I said earlier, be in peace, be at peace with your transition. It's gonna help you out so much more than you realize. Really and honestly. So that's basically it. That's it for me. And as I say in all my videos, I know this from experience because I know if it helped me, then it'll help you too. So start embracing change, even though it's scary, even though you might not just want to. Embrace the change and allow the change to do what is there in your life to do. And you'll feel better. You'll do better. You'll see better. Overall, like I said, you'll just be better. So that's pretty much it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I absolutely love y'all. I appreciate all the love that y'all are showing me. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Y'all have a good one. And that's it. Catch y'all. Peace.